Welcome, everyone. Today we're doing a segment with Jeremy Barr on 15-minute calls. It's going to be so exciting to talk about because this is something that I preach to multiple different people as to how they can fit more meetings in their schedule, but also just be more efficient with their time. Something that I work on within that is not scheduling as many meetings as I possibly can within my schedule, but I'm just trying to be more efficient with my time because most of the time when I was working in bigger corporate, they would do, 30-minute, like 1 hour long calls, and really half the call was multiple people talking who weren't necessarily on topic, or they were talking about the weather or just something in general that wasn't super efficient for the meeting. But with these 15-minute calls, I can set the speed of the call and make sure that everyone is aligned on the topic beforehand by, of course, like doing a detailed meeting note before. And then during the call, just making sure that everyone stays efficient and on topic. And the way that I do that is that I talk a little bit faster, which you can kind of see in my dialect right now, but as well as if people get off topic during the meeting, doing like subtle cues to jar people to get back on topic, but also just understand why we're having the meeting in general and make sure that everyone is aligned on that. I have about anywhere between like 10 to 15 calls a day, sometimes 20, sometimes 25, just because I generally like to have more calls. It's the way that I get things done a little bit more efficiently, but it depends on person to person, whatever works. But the only way that you can really do this is by having your calls be a lot shorter. And I've had some people in the past tell me that they schedule like 30-minute to 1 hour long calls in general because they're trying to block off more time on their calendar. And if they finish the call early, that's fine. But in general, I like to set expectations and I start the call on time and stop the call on time just to make sure that I'm staying on topic myself and that I'm keeping everybody that's on the meeting on top, because that drives like the business impact and like values forward, and make sure that we get deals done more quickly. Because if you can talk to the right people at the right times with speed, then you can obviously get things done a lot more quickly.
I love it. Yeah. I think a lot of people immediately think that 15-minute calls are a very rushed thing. And there's actually just ways of shortening up what you need to say. One, who is the audience that actually needs to hear a certain sense, right? If I'm talking to an engineer, I'm going to say something that's applicable to the engineer. If I'm talking to a marketer, it's going to be to marketing. If I'm talking to an investor or somebody I'm doing a deal with, I'm going to say specifically what do they need, right? A lot of people, when they're talking in a lot of sentences in longer meetings, 30-minute meetings, 60-minute meetings, they're saying the whole of the problem or the whole of the solution, when really we just need to look at what is the actual audience of this call. Just by looking at the audience, usually there's 5 to 10 different participants in any one project. And so just by looking at the 1 or 2 audience specific people on the call means you can shrink your conversation surface area by 1/5. If it's 1/6, for example, then that's a 60-minute meeting down to a 10-minute just by making it audience specific. The other thing we can look at is, let me make something up like in volleyball or basketball because I don't play them, right? But if you want to call something like the L shot or the O shot or the K pass, right? You can say it really quickly. What do we do in the VC world? We say, instead of describing all about how a VC fund works, right? When VCs introduce each other, and like how I've done and how a lot of VCs will do to me, it's hey, this is a $10 million fund or a $500 million fund. It's this thesis, and it's this country, and this is how we market or get to our deal flow founders, right? There's maybe 7 or 8 different bullet point items that are said in about 20 to 30 seconds. And we're not even done with the 15-minute call yet, and I already know all about your VC, and you already know all about my VC. So there are 15-minute calls that can be intro calls, where I've met somebody before, and a lot of my calls, especially with really highly successful people, which you have to be short when you're highly successful in the financial realm, because you're usually dealing with a lot of different people, and to actually manage a team of scale, even if you're managing teams of people, even if you're delegating and then those managers are managing people, which I've done, and I'm referring to part of, you still have to be able to be short to get things done. So you tend to notice that people that are higher success in the org chart, in the financial success metric, because it's not the only success metric in life. There's a lot of different human success metrics, happiness, fulfillment, etc. Right? When you look at those, you see that there's a lot of people that will talk shorter because that is a mechanic of what will breed success. So we can look at it from the perspective of there's intro 15-minute calls, and there's also one-on-ones calls, right? So whether you're doing a consulting or whether you're a manager getting on your one-on-one calls, that 15 minutes now becomes a delta meeting. What happened in the last 7 days? Now this is trimming out even more of the conversation surface area that we actually need to talk about, because now we're talking about what only happened in the last 7 days since our last weekly meeting, if we're on weekly meetings, and what exactly do we need to talk about in the next 7 days. A lot of times people in a conversation will start to talk about something 30 days out, 60 days out, 90 days out, when actually if we just say what happened in the last 7 days, what happened in the next 7 days. That is a way of trimming things out. So now we've talked about 3 different ways of trimming down 15-minute meetings. 1 is the audience selector. 2 is saying things like the K shot, the O shot, the K pass, whatever, all these things I'm making up that are short form ways of saying a commonly understood thing between experts or people that know what's going on in a domain. And the 3rd one is delta meetings. What actually do you need to cover in the last 7 days or the next 7 days? Or what do you actually need to cover today or in the next hour for this fire that we're dealing with or this deal that we're dealing with? So there are ways of shrinking conversations to get in the 15-minute meetings. And we, Savannah and I, have done this so much so that sometimes we're on our 15-minute scheduled call and we're done at 8 or 12 minutes in. Both parties, not just me and her, but me and other people in the world that I'm working with and her and other people in the world that we're working with are done in 8 or 9 minutes. And then we're getting back to our day, right? So 15-minute meetings, totally doable. What other thoughts do you have, Savannah?
Yeah, no, absolutely. On word precision, that's a huge part of this, is because if you get people on the call who are word precise and they know exactly how to communicate really quickly what they need to get the objective of the call done. Because also I feel like a lot of the times on the call, we bring a lot of people on the call who don't even need to be there, and they need to be executing on their side and not even be on the call in general. So it's about bringing the right people on the call at the right times and everyone speaking in the right order and making sure that everything that they're saying is precise. And that's a lot to ask for everybody on every call every single time. But that's why that you also mentioned that usually decision makers are more word precise in general, because, you know, if you only have 15 minutes, you need to be making decisions quickly. And I think that it's a good sense of pressure as well from everybody on the call to make sure that if we have decisions to make, we are making them quickly and on the call during that 15-minute time span. Because if you have an hour, then you can kind of lag things along and talk about other topics. But with 15 minutes, you have to have a clear objective and be precise and have clear decisions made out of the call, or, you know, you won't get anything done that you wanted to get done on the call. Definitely a common skill of key decision makers, and that's why the 15-minute calls work for us and like a lot of other people in general. And also 15-minute calls just make you more word precise and a better decision maker in general, because if you're having multiple of those in a day, then you're training yourself over and over that you need to know the objective before the call. You need to make sure that objective is communicated to everybody else on the call and that you're making the key decisions by the end of the call. So overall, it makes your day more efficient and it drives you towards your goals more quickly.
Word precision, yeah. To close up this video, word precision is a massive call out. That is the reason why a lot of meetings will also go long, is when people are using general, vague words. Word precision, we call it WPND, word precision, numbers, and dates. When you use word precision, numbers, and dates, you have a narrowing process in your meetings, versus if they're very general words. How do we make this customer happy? Somebody says, we need to make the customer happy. Okay, what does happy mean? Does it mean a refund or does it mean a discount? Refund and discount are 2 examples of more word precise than just saying happy. And then we want to say, if it's a discount, is it a 20% discount or a 30% discount? That is numbers. And then for a date, we would say, are they going to get that discount in 5 minutes after this customer service call? Are they going to get it in an hour? Are they going to get it in a day? Are they going to get it in the next 30 days, right? And so this is another way of having a narrowing process. And you want to be able to notice, is a conversation narrowing or is it expanding? And this is another way of shrinking to those 15-minute meetings, so that when you get on 15-minute meetings with all of the things that we talked about in this video, they are effortless. They are not rushed. You can talk slow. You can take your time to read the other person's expressions and their tone of voice. You can express calmly, and you still cover a lot of information. A lot of times a sentence will take you maybe 10 seconds to say a sentence. If you think of it in that way, you have 6 high-impact sentences that you can say in 60 seconds without rushing. And if you have 15 minutes, 6 times 15, you're looking at, if I'm doing my math quickly in my head, 50, 60, 70 different insightful statements that you can do in 15 minutes. You can cover a lot. I have got on intro calls with a lot of people around the world, and in 8 or 9 minutes, even though it was a scheduled 15-minute call, we cover their background, their current, what's currently going on in their world, their future, my background, my current, my future, and what are we going to align to do together in the next 60 days. And that's covered in 8, 9 minutes with the most successful people in the world. That is what is actually a norm. And that's when the 15 minutes meetings are scheduled, that we're actually going shorter than 15 minutes. So that is our high-level overview of 15 minutes. Thanks for chatting, Savannah.
Thanks.